Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm happy to see many familiar faces. We call them repeat customers. As many are repeat customers, we don't have to reintroduce what we have been doing for the past previous two sessions. We are going to discuss selected verses from the Dhammapada. And I have explained also what is this collection. It's a very wonderful collection of poems, poetic form of the Buddha's sayings. Sometimes you have the suttas. Suttas go in the style of the prose, where they are long sentences and they are in essay form. But the Dhammapada are very short, neat sayings of the Buddha, very poetic in style, in beauty, in rhyme, in meter. It is one of the best examples of ancient Buddhist and even ancient Indian literature. So the Buddha spoke about many aspects of teachings, and they are in this very summarized form, and that is why we need to explain, we need to elucidate, we need to make it clearer so that we get the Dhamma that was being taught by the Buddha. So for tonight, I have selected 3 verses from the chapter of the fools, not because of the audience, but it is called the Bhala Varga. Bhala means the fool. It is the verse, they are number 63, 60 and 65. So as usual, on the one page, we have the original form, the original verses in Pali, which we are going to learn how to read, and the meaning of the word. This is to improve our Pali vocabulary. Yeah. Some might be attending Pali classes and learning Pali grammar, but this is to enhance our vocabulary. And the other page, you have the English translation together with some notes and summaries. Okay. So, are we ready, everyone? Yes. So pay attention, because I have nothing to give you tonight. I have no money to give out, no fake money also to give out, no food to give out. I only have my time, spirit to give up Dhamma. So please accept this very humble offering to everyone tonight. And it is very meritorious for us to attend a Dhamma discussion such as tonight. And we are very happy to see so many of you here being the Chengbeng season. This is how we can also help our departed relatives, teachers and friends. By listening to the Dhamma, it is considered one of the most meritorious deeds. Of the 10 meritorious deeds, one of them is called Dhamma Savana. When we listen to the Dhamma with faith, mindfulness, attentiveness, and this is where merits add up. These merits can be dedicated then to our departed relatives, teachers, and friends. I'm so very happy that I see Yang Wei-Han is here together with the family members. Today being the first anniversary of the passing away of his beloved late mother. So at the end, we shall all gather our minds and spirits to dedicate merits to our beloved ones who have departed. These 3 verses tonight from the chapter on the fools are very interesting stories. So I will also tell you some of the stories that form the background of this saying, so that you remember for a longer time. Firstly, let's look at the Pali text. Sorry, everyone has got a copy? Yeah, fresh supply just arrived. Okay, wonderful. Let's look at verse number 63. Okay. Now listen to how it is being pronounced. Yo bhalo manyati balyam pandito vapi enasu baloja pandita mani save bhaloti uchati. Okay, shall we try together? Yeah. Verse by verse, what we call line by line, okay? Yo bhalo manyati balyam pandito vapi enaso baloja pandita mani save bhaloti uchati. 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 The third word, yo balo manyati.
Yo balo manyati.
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 That is nya. Yeah. Balyam. Not your bayam. But balyam.
Balyam.
Y-A-N-G, not yam. Yam. Balyam.
Balyam.
Pali pronunciation is very easy. We just need to be very faithful to the spelling, the consonants. Yo balo manyati balyam.
Yo balo manyati balyam.
Pandito vapi enaso.
Pandito vapi enaso.
Baloja panditamani.
Baloja panditamani.
Save bhaloti uchati.
Save bhaloti uchati.
Very good. All sounded quite professional. Now, for the meaning now, for all those vocabulary, yeah? Balo, not bala, but bala means a fool, a foolish person. Okay? Pali is phonetic language, so how we pronounce it matters a lot. So in this case, it is ba. When we see an A with a ba on top, it is ah sound, bala. Bala means a foolish person, a fool. Yeah? Bala means power or strength. Yeah? So if you want to term a person a fool, but you say bala, they will say, oh, thank you very much for the praise. So it has very different meanings how it is pronounced. So balo means a fool. Yo balo manyati balyam, the translation at the back. A foolish person who knows that he is foolish is wise to that extent. But the fool who thinks that he is wise is indeed a fool. Yeah? Very interesting statement by the Buddha. Now, the background story is equally interesting. One day, at Jetavana Monastery, the Buddha was giving a talk. It was an evening talk. Jetavana, have you been? Yeah. In the wonderful ancient capital of Koshala, Savatthi. Now, just outside the city of Savatthi is the place where the Buddha spent most of his time if he were not traveling. And that was called Anathapindikasa Arama or Chittavana Monastery. The Arama, what you call the monastery that was donated by Anathapindika, that sits in the Prince Jeta's park, so shortened to Jetavana. When the Buddha gives talks in the evenings, usually the crowd is very thick. Many people are coming. And those days, the Buddha didn't have advantage of this. So, everyone had to sit very close. The bhikkhus will sit behind the Buddha. So all the monks will be facing the lay people. And the lay people will be sitting very close to the Buddha. So the males will sit very close to the Buddha. They are called upasaka. Upasaka means those who sit close. Back row is not. Ladies are called upasika. Why you sit close? Because you are interested to learn. You don't want to miss a single word. You don't want to, what you call, not be able to hear the Buddha. So therefore, everyone sat very close. And they sat very close even to each other. It was said that usually in the crowd, knee is touching knee. When you sit like this, Indian style, the knee is touching knee. And everyone has to be absolutely quiet. Even if you clear the throat a little bit, you miss a few words. The people surrounding you miss a few words, and then they miss the point altogether. They never attain Nibbana because of clearing the throat. So, that was very inspiring. And I witnessed that a couple of times when I was in Thailand. In the forest monasteries, they also don't have electricity, and therefore they don't have this speakers, PA system. It was, as we read in the commentaries, so everyone was very quiet, listening, hanging to every word that was being said by the teacher, and being so concentrated. One day, in the evening, there were 2 thieves that came to Jetavana. They came not to listen to Dhamma, unfortunately. These thieves were professionals. They target festa. Whenever there is a wedding where people bring a lot of jewelry, wear a lot of things, and then sometimes they will steal all these valuables. So when people went to Jetavana, they also wear something presentable. So some might bring valuables. So these 2 thieves came in later than the rest, and they were eyeing everywhere, and they were amazed. Usually in any gathering, there will be a lot of restlessness. People will be restless. Because the mind is restless, therefore the body is restless. The body cannot be restful because the mind is agitated, looking here for fun, looking there for pleasure. Or if it is a very boring dog, looking for escape. So, they noticed something very different that evening. Everyone was sitting so still as if they were stone statues. But they were fully awake. They were not sleeping. They were paying very close attention. The first thief thinks, wow, this is God sent. Very easy to do my job. So he sat at one corner, started to slip his hand in, stole something, and put in his bag. Then changed seats, and then stole and stole and stole. His friend, the second thief, saw the same situation, interpreted it differently. He said, I've never seen a congregation so peaceful, so attentive, so disciplined as this one in the Buddhist Mahavihara or Jetavana. But why are they so attentive? Who is this person giving this teaching? It was the Buddha. Who is this teacher? What was he talking about? Everyone paid so much attention. So instead of focusing on stealing, he started to also pay attention on the teaching. As the Buddha taught the Dhamma, he began to find it, yes, well, that's it, that's correct. Because he had never heard the Dhamma before. When he heard the sayings of the Buddha, word after word, sentence after sentence, he felt greater and greater joy. Piti comes passively. His mind was tranquil. When the mind was tranquil, he could concentrate. Came samadhi. When samadhi came, his mind was just so bright, he could understand what the Buddha said. His mind wasn't divided. His mind wasn't staying in the past, not going to the future. His mind was just concentrated at the present moment, just being there, following the flow of Dhamma. And he understood exactly what the Buddha said. And amazingly, he attained the first stage of saying word. He became a Sotapan. For you who have learned Dhamma, you know how significant that is? Yes. That means you are on the way to liberation from suffering. There is no more byways, there is no more falling away from the noble path. At most, there are a few more births, or even in the same birth, you can attain to total extinction of defilements, total liberation from suffering. That was how significant the attainment of Sotapanna is. So, this second, former thief, now is a Sotapanna. And then, wow, the whole talk was finally ended, and everyone said sadhu, sadhu, bow very mindfully, bow very respectfully, bow very gratefully to the Buddha, and with facing the Buddha, they departed. So coming in, they were very mindful and respectful. Departing also, they were very mindful and respectful. And while they were participating in the Dhamma desana, in the teaching, they were partaking in the teaching, they were also very mindful, attentive, and respectful. So, Adi Kalyanam, before it was beautiful. Majja Kalyanam, during the whole teaching it was beautiful. Pariyosana Kalyanam, after the teaching also it was wonderful, beautiful. That is considered meritorious deed. That you have done well. So since you have come, you might as well finish it well. This is what it means. And this is how in the past many people attained to various stages of sainthood. They could understand what the Buddha taught because they were mindful, attentive, and they were respectful and grateful too. So all the good qualities, the spiritual qualities, support their attainment of understanding and wisdom. If we don't have such good qualities, we can spend 2 hours, 3 hours attending a lecture, but there are no supporting factors for enlightenment. So this thief, though he came in order to steal from that gathering, but he just abandoned his intention to steal and paid attention to the Dhamma instead. And he too had all the right qualities in the mind, and he became first stage of sainthood, stream enterer. And after that, when people started to leave, he also very shy, sheepishly came forward, paid our respect to the Buddha, said for the first time in his entire samsaric existence, his eyes and heart are open to the Dhamma. First time in your samsaric existence. So you can understand how it feels for him. Then the friend quickly came to him as he was paying respect and then gazing at the Buddha with a tearful expression. The friend came, tapped him and pulled him away back to the first thief's house. Said, sometimes in Sawadhi they speak Chinese. Back at the first thief's house, he took up the loot. The first thief stole a lot of things, took up the loot. Wow, lay on the floor. The thief's wife said, wow, my husband very clever. So clever, skillful, very wise, you know. One night can get so much, can last us many months, whatever he has stolen. You know, in India there were thief clans also. They were professionals. Yeah, there were clans of everything in India, and there were thief clans, and they are considered, well, very good. It's too bad you are not guarding your possession. If it is stolen, it's stolen. So they celebrated so much the loot. Then they asked the second thief, so what did you get tonight? And he said, I didn't get anything. And then both husband and wife laughed at him. Said, wow, you are so foolish. My husband so clever, you're so foolish. He went there, got so much, you got nothing. The next day, the second thief went back to Jetavana, paid respects to Buddha, and said, I was formerly from young a thief. From young, he was trained as a thief. As soon as he could crawl, he could steal. He had never known another job. He had never known there is another possibility in life. Now he knows, not just there is another career, there is a higher existence, a higher life. It's called a spiritual life. Not a worldly life where we are stuck in the office, climb up the corporate ladder. You know the highest corporate ladder, you reach where? The attic. But not beyond. You cannot reach beyond the roof. That's the corporate ladder. But now he knows of a higher life. It is called the life of wisdom, spirituality. And he bowed and paid respects to Buddha. And he also related last time what happened. How it happened. He said, I came here in order to steal with my friend. He did steal a lot. His wife praised him, but laughed at me, saying that I'm a fool. But they didn't know. How could I tell them that they could understand? How could they ever understand what I understood? I actually didn't need to steal, but I have more treasures than them now, than they ever could steal or possess. I have the treasure of the Dhamma, of wisdom. So although they took a lot of material things, they created so much of bad karma that they have to suffer the consequence of it. But I now know the wisdom that I can resolve my suffering and attain liberation. So the Buddha, in affirming this person, he said, Yo balo manyati balyam pandito vati kriyasu balo cha pandita mani save balo ki uchashi. A foolish person who knows that he is foolish is wise to that extent. But a fool who thinks that he is wise, that's a true fool indeed. So, in life, we always experience or encounter this situation. Most people will think that they are wise. Well or not? Please raise hand, all the wise men. Yeah, everyone? We always think we are very clever, right? Yeah? Always when arguing, we think we are very clever. You know what I said to him? I said like that and like that and like that. I fried him like a pomfret fish, like that. And he had nothing to say. You know, he had nothing to rebut me. Haha, I win. You just want a ticket to hell. All the unwholesome qualities arose in us. So what have you won? So we think we are very clever. I did this to him, I did that to him. And he couldn't do anything to me. This is how foolish people think that they are clever. If we know that we have been foolish, at least there is a little wisdom there. But if that also we don't know and still think that we are very clever, then who is a true fool but ourselves? So let us reflect in life. Many a times, how do we know a person is a fool? How do we know a person is the wise one. This word balo, which means a fool. Balo literally means thick, very thick. thick, thick. Even in English, we have an expression, oh, he's very thick. Thick means what? Where is thick? Now skin is thick. But in English, thick means skull, thick. His head is very thick. Meaning to say, he's quite a foolish person or foolishly stubborn person. Not just foolish, but also stubborn. And even today, many people are like that. They think that they are very clever. So, Balu means a person who cannot see his own deficiencies and shortcomings and defilements. It is too thick, too full of himself to see deficiencies and defilements within. That is Balu. And Buddhists also the same as the rest of the population. When we know a little bit of Dhamma, and we can use Dhamma to argue actually. And it is not the purpose of acquiring knowledge of Dhamma so that you can argue and lead debates, but it is to understand how to attain liberation from suffering, pride, and ego. So when we see that kind of situation, then we know that is a foolish situation, a foolish person could do that. On the other hand, a pandito here means wise person. Pandito has a special meaning in Pali. It means a person who knows how to pick the right route. Literally, it means knowing which road to take. For example, when you come to a junction, a Y junction or a T junction, to take the left turn or the right turn. The person who always picks the right turn, not right direction, but the correct turn, so that he arrives safely at his destination. That is called Pandito. So we can translate that as a wise person, meaning to say, if we come to a juncture and we have to make a decision to do the unwholesome thoughts or to have the wholesome thoughts, and you pick the wholesome ones, abandon the unwholesome ones. At that moment, you are wise. Come to a juncture, you have a choice to speak unwholesomely or speak wholesomely. If you speak wholesomely and abandon the unwholesome speech, at that moment, you are wise. At that juncture, you have a choice again, to do the wholesome or to do the unwholesome. Wholesome means it brings benefit to you today and it brings benefit to you tomorrow. It brings benefit to you or to others today and tomorrow. It doesn't harm you, neither does it harm others. That is wholesomeness. Unwholesome, on the other hand, it harms you, it harms your future. It harms others' future happiness. It doesn't benefit anyone. That is called unwholesome. So when you have a choice to do the wholesome action or the unwholesome, you choose the wholesome ones again. And therefore, at that moment, you are pandito, you are wise. So if you make a series of wise decisions consistently and over a long period of time, then you are called pandita. Pandita means the wise one. This is what the wise one will choose, how to live in accordance to what is wholesome. So, stealing, that is unwholesome. That brings harm to others. Immediately they have loss of property. And you think you have gained, but you have also committed a lot of unwholesome deeds. That will have consequences. That will banish your future happiness. That will send you to a very bad destination. That is foolish. So if we know that that is foolish and abandon it today, at least we are wise to that extent. My dear friends, in the past we have all been foolish. Yeah? Except a few maybe. How many people have been foolish in the past? Okay, minority. The rest didn't hear the question. The Buddhist way is, if we have done foolish deeds, said foolish things, think of foolish thoughts, attached to foolish ideas in the past, let it be in the past. This is the moment where we practice. The practice is not in the future. Many people think, oh, I prepare myself, then in future I'm able to practice. Yeah? Now I work very hard, I get a lot of money, then I can retire early, then I can practice. The Buddhist practice is not in the future. Neither is it revisiting the past. Oh, in the past I should have done that, I should have done this. The Buddhist practice is in the now. Now practice the Eightfold Factors. That is the only time we can practice. So we do not practice in the future. You understand? So if you have done anything unwholesome in the past, learn from them, and it is in the now that we choose the wholesome. In terms of thoughts, in terms of speech and action, choose the wholesome in the now, in the present. And we are called practicing Buddhists. Okay? And consistently doing so over time, we will be recognized for our wholesome lives, wholesome choices in life. And people will say, oh, he is quite wise because he chose the wholesome way. Wise here doesn't mean street wise, or people who know how to choose the right stock, the right investment, the right, share, the right currency to change into Aussie dollar or American dollar or Singapore dollar. So every time you consult, they will give you the right answer. That kind of wisdom is nothing. That kind of wisdom is only good in the worldly sense. But beyond this life, beyond this world, it has no benefit whatsoever. It only gives us the benefit, even as human beings, temporarily, but not beyond that. There's no effect. But being truly wise, choosing the wholesome and abandoning the unwholesome, that gives an effect here and hereafter. The Buddha says this, Ida nandati, Eta nandati, Tatta punyo bhayata nandati, Punyam me katamti nandati, Vyo nandati sukati dato. If we are wholesome, if we are wise, we choose the wholesome way, we experience nanda. Nanda means joy. Oh, now I'm joyful. Hereafter also I'm joyful. Because there are no bad consequences of a wise decision. A wise decision has good consequences, no bad consequences. Therefore, you are free from suffering even tomorrow. So now you are happy. Hereafter also we are happy. Having lived a wise life in accordance with Dhamma, having chosen rightly, wholesomely, we rejoice in both worlds. And biyonandati sudhavigato. After we rejoice here, we are reborn also in a fortunate existence, in a fortunate place. So it's very important for us to know what is practice. Practice means training ourselves to be wiser. And practice is in the now. Okay? Everyone understand? Yes. So learn this verse in order to reflect. Not learn this to scold your boss. Oh, you are truthful indeed because you think you are clever. Bala also, besides being thick, has another meaning. In the commentaries, it's called Balanti Ananti. It means that being is just breathing in and out, breathing heavily, heaving, breathing. Meaning to say, that being, that person, is distinguished throughout his life by just breathing. Meaning to say, he has no distinguishing factor, no noble factor in his personality, in his character. His only achievement in life is breathing. Interesting Pali word, right? That's the meaning of Bala. Bala means heavy breathing. That's the greatest achievement of your life. Because the rest, you keep living in accordance to greed, according to your aversion, according to your delusion, according to ignorance, according to attachment, according to habits, not according to Dhamma. You're just living your life habitually, just like any other being. So what's the achievement in that life? So that life's distinguishing factor is just because you are alive by breathing. So very strong connotation there. This bala, very heavy, very consequential. Okay? So you remember? So when we have done something wrong, reflect and say that, okay, I was wrong. I chose the wrong course of action. I've chosen the unwholesome. I've forgotten the wholesome. So come back, reflect. In the now, choose the wholesome over the unwholesome. Okay. Don't repeat. If you repeat too many times, it becomes habitual and it becomes more difficult to be wholesome again. It becomes difficult to be good. It becomes very easy to be bad. Therefore, it becomes easy to suffer. And it becomes difficult to be happy. So if we choose wisdom, it is so easy to be happy that you don't even need to wish for it. If you have done all the wholesome deeds, ida modati, pecha modati, katta punyo bhata modati, so modati, so pamodati. When you hear also, you know very happy. No, you don't understand what it means. So modati means Jinhuayi. So pamodati, Jinjiahuayi. You don't even have to wish for it. It comes naturally. Just like a person eating nutritious food. As you eat, you don't have to wish, may I get full and not hungry. May I get full and not hungry. You just need to eat. Okay? And you don't have to wish if it is nutritious food or whatever. You don't have to wish, oh, may I stay healthy, may I stay full, may I stay. You don't have to wish. By the act of eating nutritious food to the right amount, you are already healthy and happy and satisfied. Okay? But if you are eating poison, even if you wish, may I not die, may I not get harmed, may I not get hurt, it won't work. Because the choice, your action is eating poison. When you are eating poison, you say, wabesi, si juga, mati juga. Although we pray very hard, wabesi. I eat poison, I won't die. I eat poison, I won't die. Die also. That is the nature, the consequence of our choices in life. So those who have done well, wholesome lives, wise person, you don't have to wish for happiness. It comes as a consequence. Chayavana paini, just like our shadow that never leaves. You don't have to turn back to the shadow. Later I go out, you follow me. Chahaya, shadow, Anna paini, 不离我们，不离开我们。这个影子呢，随着我们走。This shadow follows us wherever we go. So happiness follows a person who is wise. Okay? Right. Second verse. Dikha jagharto rati. Okay. The first word. D-I bar. So it's long I. D. Second syllable, GH and A bar, Gaha. The H you can hear it. Dikha. Jagarato. Rati. Yes. R-A-T is Rat. T-I is T. Rati. Digham. Not digam. Digham. The mouth is open. Digham. Santassa yojanam.
Santassa yojanam.
Digo balanam.
Digo balanam.
Samsaro.
Samsaro.
Saddhammang.
Saddhammang.
Avijjanatam.
Avijjanatam.
Very good. It sounds quite good from here. Diga jagarato ratti. Digham santassa yojanam.
Digham santassa yojanam.
Digo bhalanam samsaro.
Digo balanam samsaro.
Saddhammang avijjanatam.
Saddhammang avijjanatam.
Very good. Natam.
Natam.
T-A-N-G sound in Malay. Tam. Now what is the translation? Verse 60. Long is the night to the sleepless. Long is the journey to the weary. Long is samsara to the fool who knows not the Buddha's sublime teaching. Digha means long. Long here is generic. Long can be a measurement of distance or even time, a long time. Yeah? So here it says, long is the night to the sleepless. Long is the journey to the weary. The weary means the exhausted, the tired. And long is samsara. It's not samsara, but samsara. Samsara. Samsara means repeated cycle, birth and death, rebirth, redeath. It goes on. Long is samsara to the foolish person who knows not the Buddha's sublime teachings. There is a story also when the Buddha recited these verses. It also happened in the same city of Savatthi, the capital of Koshala. The king of Koshala, his name was Pashnadi. He became king when he was a teenager. He became king quite young. And he at first wasn't a very devout follower of the Buddha. It wasn't until quite late in life he started to become interested due to the influence of the wife. The wife is very important. The right wife is very important influence for the spiritual development of the family members. So Pasinadi, one day he was out inspecting his city. At that time he was already in his middle age, in his 50s. So as he was going out inspecting in his royal chariot, people were bowing to him both sides of the road. And then there were 2-story buildings in Savatthi also. At the veranda of a higher story, as they were passing by the main street, his eye caught the sight of a beautiful teenage maiden, a beautiful, beautiful young lady, uncrowned Miss Universe. Very beautiful. Dhammapada Kalyani is very beautiful, Miss India. So was out there, and then with the sari cover like that, and saw the king, and then smiled and bowed a bit, and then immediately he go. The king was smitten. It's very strange, but things like that happen, but not to me. Yeah. So, wow, what a sight! Then immediately he fell in love. He fell in love with something he just had a glimpse of. This is a strange thing that even people today can fall in love with stars and artists that they don't even have. And even magazines. Those days before internet, now you can see more and more, but those days even magazines, they would think, wow, you're so in love with a Hong Kong star. I had a cousin who was very, very much in love with one of the 4 heavenly kings. And coming from the kampong, you have no way of meeting the heavenly kings. Even if you go to Hong Kong, it's just impossible. So she was, oh, everything about this, everything the heavenly king does every dance that she will do, no matter how ridiculous. Whatever the songs, the lyrics, memorize everything. I wish she would memorize Pali. Singing. So smitten with this heavenly king. Same thing happened with King Fatima. So immediately he asked the attendant, that house, the second story, the veranda, find out who that maiden is. Yes. In the evening, they came back to invest. After investigating, they said, she is so and so's daughter, but now is so and so's wife. Just married. Too late. So the king said, who's the husband? He said, oh, it's just a laborer. And the king was thinking, I don't know. My life without her is not complete. Although he already had 20 wives. Not complete. So keep thinking for days. And finally he came up with what you call an idea. He asked the husband of the lady to come to the court. So now the king wants to employ you. Me? As what? I'm just a laborer. Don't know lah, the king wants you to work for the palace. What can I do? The king has special assignment for you. You must report at the palace tomorrow. So when the laborer went to the palace the next morning, he was given a very impossible assignment. He was asked to do something very unusual, very strange. He was asked to travel 30 weeks. Yojana. What is yojana? About 6 months. Travel very far to the north, at the foothills of the mountain range north of Koshala. There was a lake, and that lake is famous during the summer season for its very beautiful red kumudu lotuses. There are many kinds of lotuses, and this one is called kumudu. Beautiful blossom. His assignment was to go there, get this lotus one stop back, together with the earth that is at the periphery of the lake. And according to local myth, in India it's full of myth, according to local myth, there is in that lake a very fierce guardian spirit. That whatever comes to disturb the peace of that lake or take days of starting to develop, like Malaysia starting development, that spirit will come up and disturb. So just to do that. And furthermore, that lake itself is full of crocodiles, marble crocodiles. And the path has to go through a very thick jungle full of tigers. And the assignment says you must go and come back within a single day. So it's like what do you call that? Mission impossible. It's like sending him to die. Why? After death, the king was thinking, after death is, oh, poor widow, so young, never mind. Your husband was employed by the palace. I, as the employer, will take care of you for life. That was the plan. Smart? No. Unwholesome or wholesome? You must know. The first verse we already discussed. You were not wise. Foolish. That was the assignment. So he had no choice. Not obeying the king those days is death sentence. Obeying is sending to death, but there's still a chance. So what he did was ask the wife, he said, wife, you must help me. So they made very nutritious rice balls and so on, and dry them and pack them in his bag. And the other problem is they live within the city of Savatthi. Only at dawn is the gate open. They cannot start the journey before. So at dawn he was waiting at the gate with the food and everything, water. So when the gate opened, he was the first to get through and started his journey. So he walked and walked and walked and walked and ran and walked. He was very young, so good. And along the way, he rested for a very short period. And when he was resting, there were other travelers that were traveling into Savatthi. So he asked the traveler, stop. Have you had any breakfast? I'll take it in the city. I have something. Take. Now, take as much as you need. The traveler said, oh, thank you. Usually people are not so generous. First, thank you. So after he had his meal, gave dana to the traveler, he rushed, he made it by early afternoon. Then with the rest of the food, he put in the water, feed the fish, not the crocodiles but the fish. And then he prayed to the spirits there. He said, I came on a very difficult assignment. Please, whatever spirits there are, give me protection. Give me this protection. I share merits with you, having done offering to a fellow traveler, having done dana to a fellow traveler, and having fed the fish here, that's also meritorious deed. These merits I dedicate to all of you. Please keep an eye for me. And he swam to the middle, took the mudra, the first stop he could get, swam back. The crocodiles didn't chase after him. And he took some red earth, packed in his bag, and rushed back to the city. And he was running all the way, no matter how tired they didn't care, just ran. And the king had another trick. That day, the palace gates were closed early. When he arrived at the gate of Savatthi, the northern gate, it was already closed. He said, "Wo gao tiam xiang." Sometimes they speak Cantonese. So he was wailing and wailing. So he put down the lump of earth like that and put the stop and said, "The king, you all inside, on the walls, everywhere, whoever could listen, be my witness. I arrived here by right before the end of the day, before the gates are supposed to close. But the king has done this obviously for some reasons. He wanted me to die." So waiting and waiting, he saw how hopeless it was. He had nowhere to go. The only place was to Jetavana, which was outside the city, not far from the city. So while there was a little bit light left, he quickly ran to Jetavana, crying, wailing, and when finally in the evening saw the Buddha, told the Buddha all these things, and rested. The king, many days later, at night couldn't sleep, thinking, firstly, how to get this maiden that he was smitten in love with. Then the hindrance, the obstacle was she's married. How to get this husband out of the way. And finally he thought of this idea and thought of closing the palace gate early and everything. But for many days he could not sleep. Every night thinking, woke up many times, trying very hard, couldn't sleep. So the Queen Malika came and said, something is wrong with my husband king. Then the husband refused to tell. Then he said, why not you go and see the Blessed One? Maybe he will give you some comfort, give you some direction. Then you can rest. You are not so restless. And the king said, good idea. The next morning early, he went also to Jetavana to see the Buddha. And the Buddha said, Maharaja, you're very early today. He said, I couldn't sleep for many nights already, Blessed. I realized long is the night to the sleepless. Dika, what do you call it? Jagarato Rati. Dika Jagarato Rati. Long is the night to the sleepless. Now the word Jagarato, is usually very positive. It has a very positive connotation. The usual translation of Jagarato means the wakeful one. Jagara, sangat berjaga, jaga. In Malay, it's jaga, the same word. In Malay, jaga means awake. Yeah? Terjaga means awake by accident. Yeah? So, jagara means wakeful. Meaning to say, pantan sesya na senang jagat. When you When you meditate at night, some people resolve on Uposatha days, I want to meditate throughout the night. So I will try my best to sit. If I'm tired, I lie down on one side. I will not go to sleep. This is called jagara. It means stay awake purposefully in order to practice meditation. It also means being mindful all the time. Berjaga-jaga. Jangan tersilap jalan. Don't choose the unwholesome. Always be careful, be mindful, choose the wholesome path. That is also the meaning of jagara. So usually it is very positive. Yeah? Those are the qualities of a true Dhamma practitioner, being awake. That's why the Buddha is called one who is awake. Buddha, the awake. So the rest of humanity, the Buddha described, are in deep slumber, sleeping. So, sleeping means not open the eyes, not open the mind to Dhamma yet. Still slumber where Dhamma is concerned. But the Buddha, where Dhamma is concerned, is fully awake. So, in this context, Jagarato, in the Dhammapada verse here, means sleepless. It doesn't mean a good one. It just merely means one who cannot sleep. Bhikkhun. So Pasenadi came to the Buddha looking very haggard after a few nights. He said, Bhikkhun Merjittam. Uncle Vijay can translate that into Pali. When you cannot sleep, the night seems so long. Correct or not? How many people sleepless before? For various reasons we cannot sleep. But mostly it's because there's something that is occupying our mind. Correct or not? It's thinking. Craving for something, correct or not? Wanting something tomorrow, waiting for something tomorrow, some news, or worry, or anxiety, or fear. All kinds of things make us restless and awake. Not because we want to practice meditation to that moment, but because of defilement kept us awake. So it is called sleepless. So every time we check the watch, 1 a.m. Then sleep already. We think, now should be 5 a.m. We open 1:05. Every 2 minutes you check. Then tick tock, very disturbing. You go take down the clock, take out the battery, so that it doesn't tick tock and disturb you. And still you cannot sleep. Long is the night for the sleepless one. The mind is very active and restless. Then, remember the husband of the maiden? So, he was resting at Jetavana also. When the king came, he also woke up. And then he was behind some, what do you call? Some screen, and so the king was facing the Buddha talking there. So, the king was saying what? He said, Bhikkhun Merjittam. Then he said, Lang Khun Lo Jintam. When you are tired, then you know how long the road is. That was his answer. He heard the king, he was so unhappy. The king had sent him on this mission to kill him. Now he figured it out. He said, Digam Santasa Yojana. Long is the Yojana, 1 mile. 1 mile usually when you're not tired is okay. 1 mile, 1 kilometer, you can walk in a few minutes. But when you are tired, so weary, totally exhausted, no more energy left, 1 more mile is like 1,000 miles. You don't have any energy even to inch forward. So he said, Igam santasa yojanam chon. Igam santasa yojanam chin chon. Chon liao lo chin tong. Like that in Hokkien. Hiểu không? Cho làm chon không? Hôm nay cho làm cho đi. Ai做先不是爱做的看做，你好做人做做先，做we are tired also doing many things in our life, work, service, care for others, sacrifices. We are so tired. Many people experience fatigue. When you are fatigued, one more service, one more day of service, one more meeting, one more assignment, you also feel tired. You feel even that one last meeting is so long. That's because not the talk itself or the meeting itself is long, not the task itself is difficult. It's because of the state of mind. It is always mind is the forerunner. Mano Bhagavanam, Mano Siddha, it's mind created. So you feel that this task is very, very difficult. This project is very, very difficult. It's all in the mind. So, examine. Go back and examine the next time you experience this. Check carefully, reflect, turn inward, and see whether it is like that. If it were like that, then we also can think of the solution to that problem. The solution is also internal. More about the solutions in another session. So this is what the man said from behind some structure. He said, long is the journey for the weary. And then the Buddha, having heard the king and now the man, the Buddha said, but long is samsara to the fool who knows not the sublime truth. That was the teaching given by the Buddha. The other two, it's obvious. Some experience sleeplessness, some experience fatigue and exhaustion. But what we may not understand was the part the Buddha said, long is samsara to the fool who knows not the sublime truth. The fool, again, we have defined, means someone who is unwise, who doesn't know how to appreciate the truth, who lives according to habits driven by defilements, fettered by ignorance. And these, they go on life after life. Whatever they have done, they inherit the consequence. Karma and vipaka, they are born high and low because of that karma. And again, they go through again and again and again. Now, the word here, long, is not defined by years. Neither is it defined by how many lifetimes. It is much longer than that. We don't have a measurement for this long. It's just very long period of existence. So samsara technically means beings are born again and again, driven by the consequence of their actions. Technically, that's called samsara. Samsara, again and again. How you live and how you spend your time is what you have accumulated, and we will have the consequence. So beings are sometimes born in a good place, sometimes born in a disaster zone, sometimes born in a fortunate realm, sometimes born in the unfortunate. But even if they are born in a fortunate realm, if they don't have wisdom, they will always choose, due to habit, the unwholesome over the wholesome. And when they choose the unwholesome, they will have suffering as a consequence. And when they are born high in a fortunate realm, because of the unwholesome life, again born low, due to the weight of karma. Many people are fortunate as human beings. The Buddha also said in another verse in Dhammapada, Kiccho manusa patilaharo. It is very difficult to gain this human birth. Imagine how much good merits we have accumulated in order to support the human birth as compared to other births in other realms. But it is very easy to waste a human birth. Once we are born human beings, and even if we are born fortunate with a lot of wealth, with good looks, and because of that, connections, and therefore success, whether in career, business, or any other things we do, then we develop pride, then we develop ego, then we develop conceit, then we feel superior, then we look down on others, then we harm others and injure others in our thoughts, in our speech, in our action. And so easy to spoil all our good fortune. And because of all the unwholesome things that we have accumulated, we again go down. So up and down, samsara is like that. Yi se, ki go look. It's like that. So when are you going to end that process? The clear and the surest way out of samsara is the attainment of the first stage of sainthood, and that is called Sotapanna. And that is why the Buddha said, of all the things that you can gain in your life, Atavya Ekarajina, let's say you're the most powerful person in this world. The whole world elected you as the leader. You are now the most powerful person in the world. That is the result of a lot of good fortune, right? A lot of good karma. But that is nothing compared to an heavenly birth. Sagasa Gamaninawa. Even the most fortunate human being compared to the heavenly realm is still inferior. But even you are born in the highest heavenly realm, it is not as fortunate as being born in the Brahma realm. Brahma realm has no loss of pleasure, just like the Devas when they gain, they enjoy, but they also lose things. But in the Brahma realm, they don't experience that kind of loss. But even the Brahma realm cannot compare with the attainment of the first stage of sainthood. Because although we are born as Brahmas, when our karma, good karma that supports us there is exhausted, we are also reborn somewhere in the 31 planes of existence. But when we attain the first stage of sainthood, we are on the way out of the cycle of samsara. There are a few more births. Even in that same birth itself, we can realize the Dhamma. The eye of Dhamma has opened already. Pachu kui liao, pachu kui liao, kwai diu liao, kwai diu the zai na the very big. So stage by stage, we have found our way out of samsara. So this is our aim, my dear friends. You don't think that, this first stage of sainthood is very difficult. Who said so? My teacher Bante said so. But the Buddha didn't say so. Our teacher's teacher didn't say so. The Buddha encouraged all of us to strive diligently so that we attain the first stage of sainthood. But we cannot wish for the attainment of the first stage of sainthood. It doesn't come just by wishing. It comes by cultivation. If we don't cultivate, we cannot go to the Bodhi shrine, the Buddha shrine, Prat the Buddha, Chili Tsapa. I'll give you orange, but I can't give you pineapple. Cultivation. Not mere aspiration, but cultivation. Cultivation means change our wrong views, abandon, develop right views. Abandon wrong thoughts, develop right views. Abandon wrong speech, action, and live liberally. Adopt right speech, right action, right living. Establish right efforts. Establish right mindfulness. And establish right serenity, tranquility, and concentration. This is what it means by cultivation. Not by running around doing a lot of activities or running around participating in events, but setting one's spirit, setting one's mentality, one's understanding right. That's called cultivation. This is what is said by the Buddha. So he encouraged all of us to strive to attain the first stage of sainthood. Can you achieve it? If we say yes, provided I cultivate, then it shows two things. One, you have the proper understanding. We call it right understanding. Two, you have faith. If you say chaya, then no faith or no understanding. So when we say yes, we need to establish these two things. One, understand it properly. Two, have faith and confidence. Saddha. Okay? Sanya bo? Very good. The third and the final verse for tonight, verse 65. Charanti bala dummedha.
Charanti bala dummedha.
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 Amita neva attana.
Amita neva
Attana.
attana.
Amita neva attana.
Amita neva attana.
Karonta papakang kammang.
Karonta papakang kammang.
Yang hoti
Yang hoti
tatuka pahalang.
tatuka pahalang.
Very good. You can go back and see the meanings of the individual words. The translation is: fools, lacking wisdom, go about their lives with themselves as their own enemies, doing unwholesome deeds which bear bitter fruits. Very simple in English. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you the end of the story, right?
Yes.
You didn't remind me. I thought all attained first stage of sainthood, then I need to go back. Anyway, the king, Pasenadi, acknowledged when he saw him, or husband also here, he felt hiri otapa. He felt shame and remorse. And he said, I did something I'm not proud of. I did something that is very unbecoming because of my age, because of my position as a king, because of the leader and the father of my citizens, because of me being a disciple of the Buddha. This is something that I acknowledge is very, very wrong. He was at least humble to that extent. And he said, my apologies. I release you from the service to the palace. You are a free man. You can do as you wish. And compensated him. Compensated him. And the Buddha praised the king. You are very kind enough and you are humble enough to admit that. It's a good thing. So this was how it ended very happily. The king didn't remarry. the maiden didn't become a widow. The husband got back his family and his family. So that was at the intervention of the Buddha also, because at the right time, the Buddha always said the right thing. He said, yeah, long is your night because you couldn't sleep, and long is your journey because you are exhausted, but know what? Long is samsara for the foolish who knows not the sublime truth. And that woke and shook everyone up. And said, true. How long can we go on? On and on and on and on. So that was a very beautiful end to the episode. Okay? At least both of them so happened choose to visit Jetavana, choose to see the Buddha. In their weakest, most vulnerable point in life, they sought out the wise. And that is the way we should do as well. In our weakest, vulnerable point, in our struggles in life, in our challenges, don't seek out fools. Don't seek out liquor. Don't try drugs. And don't resort to wrong views and wrong thoughts and wrong behavior. seek out the wise, and you will see the light. So they did the right thing, and because of that, we not only got this teaching, they themselves got even more. Asenadi and the husband, the young husband, they got even more compared to what we get today. Right? Okay, for the third verse, the final verse for tonight, it says, fools lacking wisdom go about their lives, with themselves as their own enemies, doing unwholesome deeds which bear bitter fruits. What does it mean? Saranti bhala dummeta. A person who has very little wit, very little wisdom. Medha means wisdom. A person not only foolish, bhala is already foolish, added by dumeda is even worse. Bala means gong, bala dumeda means jin jia gong. Jin jia gong 的人生活行来行去，做来做去，当家己是混嘅敵人。This is Hokkien translation. The first line. A foolish, really foolish person who doesn't know what is good, what is bad, lives his life, does whatever in his work, in his studies, in his relationship, in his livelihood. Does whatever he likes without any wisdom, lives like an enemy to himself. Now, what does that mean? Enemies treat you nicely or not nicely? How does an enemy treat another? You try to help or to harm? To harm, right? Imagine if you live your life like you are your own enemy. That means you are harming yourself throughout life. And how can one harm oneself in life? Again, by choosing the unwholesome and forgetting the wholesome. Wrongly choosing, not wisely choosing. We harm ourselves, although that was not our intention. Who wants to harm oneself? We all love ourselves so dearly. We never think of harming ourselves. Our whole life is to seek safety from harm. We don't want people to harm us. We don't even want to go under the hot sun. Correct? Not quite harm my skin. We don't want even to what you call do difficult jobs. We don't want to suffer. But if we are unwise, the choices we make in our lives, living in accordance with habit and defilements, harms us although we don't have the intention to harm us. As we seek pleasure, as we seek our career, as we seek our knowledge, as we seek success, when we do the wrong things by the wrong means, ultimately the consequences follow us. We harm ourselves, not help ourselves. So in our mind, we are helping ourselves to advance in career and in life. We are helping ourselves to attain success. But unbeknownst to us, we are harming ourselves, hurting ourselves. Do you understand that? And why is that so? Because that person doing that has very little wisdom. In fact, he is foolish. So the solution is to free ourselves from that foolishness, to gain wisdom. And how do we gain wisdom? The Buddha had given the clue, Saddhammam Vijanatam. The earlier verse, Saddhammam Vijanatam, means to understand the sublime teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha's teaching always helps, never harms. The Buddha taught many things over 45 years. Even before he became a Buddha, he was already a very wise being. And even in his previous lives, he was already a wise being. So, he taught all kinds of things that led to happiness, led to liberation from the causes of suffering. At the point of enlightenment, this is very interesting. all arahants gain the three kinds of knowledge. In Pali we call it te vijja. Vijja means knowledge. Te means three. The three knowledges are: one, Ubenuvasanusati. Ubenuvasanusati means you know your previous lives. That knowledge comes from anusati, from memory. Now can you remember your previous lives? Many people can't even remember what you had for breakfast this morning. True? You have to think, breakfast, oh, I forgot I didn't have breakfast. You can't even remember what happened today. But when the mind is clear from all hindrances, then that memory is unobstructed. All these things that we have done in the past are somehow stored within our psyche. And all enlightened beings, all arhats, are able to recollect their previous existences. But not all of them can recollect unlimited past existences. The Buddha's mind was exceptional. Why? Because he took many more lifetimes than all the other arhats to perfect his mind. So his mind has that superior quality to it. He could recollect limitless lifetimes. But other arhats can recollect up to a certain limit. But what is the benefit of recollecting your previous lives? Number one is to confirm that you had previous existences. Number two, you are able to see what you did in the past and how it affected the life subsequent to that. What you did again and how it affects your next life and the next and the next. And you understand about karma and its consequence. Karma and vipaka. You know that. The second knowledge that comes is called Dibbacakkuna. You are able to develop comprehension of other beings' lives as well. For example, in the previous life, your mother, in this life, who and where she is. You are able to trace people who are very closely associated with you, your friends, your family members, from your life to life. You say, oh, my brother become my what you call friend, my friend become someone else. You can see the relationship, the dynamics of that relationship. That is a great revelation as well. But these two types of knowledge, although it comes with every enlightened being, they are not unique to arhats. Meaning to say, any yogi, any person who meditates in that way can also recollect their past existences. And there are cases of people whom I trust very much, whom I think they are very credible, whom I don't consider them bala or talking nonsense, that have recollected. And they told me, they call me by my name. They are all seniors. They say, be careful, be very careful. It's true. It's there. It's there. It happens this way, as the Blessed One has taught us. Okay, sadhu. Be very careful. Then, the other one, Dibbacakkuna we call it, can also be developed by yogis. Yogis who develop meditation, the mind in a certain way, can also develop the ability to see the arising and passing away of other beings, spirits. But the third knowledge that comes with the arahant is unique to an arahant. There is no other being who is not an arahant that has this knowledge. It is called asavakaya jnana. Asava means defilements, cankers, defilements, impurities in the mind. It could be very deep, such as ego, conceit, and ignorance, the deepest. And you can see clearly within yourself there is no more defilements and cankers left. It's totally pure. So we call it the freedom, the liberation from cankers and the total purification from defilements. There is no more defilements left in your mind. Your mind is free, and therefore you are known as an arahant. This is the third knowledge. So when the Buddha gained enlightenment, these three knowledges also occurred to him. And that was how he could see that beings fettered by ignorance and driven by craving commit all kinds of doings, some wholesome, some unwholesome, and because of that they all bear the consequences. They go up and down in a samsaric scale, and sometimes born in fortunate realms. And within fortunate realms you have suffering too. Within fortunate realms, as for example, we are born as human beings, we are very fortunate. But among human beings, there are some that suffer greatly, suffer multiply, suffer unbearably, tragically. Even if you are born fortunate also, you have this suffering. And even if you are born unfortunate, such as in the animal realms, some animals are very well taken care of, very well fed, protected, and so on. So there are also good fortune in the unfortunate realms. And all this is driven by karma. This whole process is samsara, which beings fettered by ignorance and driven by craving cannot escape from until you understand the sublime Dhamma. Okay? So the Buddha says, karunta papakam kama, going about your whole life, planning for this, planning for that, desiring this, wanting that, liking this, disliking that, what you call harming this, hurting that, all accumulating this karma all the time. Then yang bodhi katukapala, they inherit results of fruits that are bitter. And this is figurative. Fruits means the consequence. 所以我们中文说什么？善有乐报，不是善有善报，没有善报，有乐报。善有乐报，you experience pleasure and mental happiness. 恶有苦报，恶有就是恶有恶报，恶有苦报。The fruit itself is not evil. It can be bitter, but it is not evil. If the fruit is evil, the fruit will attack you. So I have not seen a fruit that attacks people. Correct? The fruit can be sweet, the fruit can be bitter, but the fruit we cannot say is evil. So in Chinese there is a distinction we call 苦报，不是恶报。Okay? So do we understand these three verses? So many a times it is left to us to see whether we have those defilements within us to live a very careful, mindful, righteous way of life. There's a story, by the way, connected to this. We have some time to tell this story. Okay. The Buddha, once in the morning, saw in his vision, and the Buddha in the morning always practiced an hour of Maha Karuna Sampati Bhavana. Maha Karuna Sampati means the development of not the development, but the attainment of great compassion. And at the end of that session, he would scan the world. Whoever is within his reach, he would go and help if the person is spiritually mature, if the person has the right frame of mind, the right so-called factors in the mind that can gain enlightenment for him, that can win enlightenment for him. So one day the Buddha saw a very difficult person by the name of Super Buddha. Super Buddha was a leper. He had leprosy, and therefore he was cast out from his village and family even as a child. So he had always been collecting scraps. His family would leave food outside the village, so in the evening when there's nobody, he would come and take the food. This is how he survived. And the Buddha saw this Super Buddha, although a leper, although sick, but he had a different quality of mind. You know his mind, Super Buddha? He had humility. He had humility. Because he had humility, he had gratitude. When people leave things for him, he had gratitude. And when people abuse him through speech and so on, he had no anger, he had no aversion towards people. So that was his special quality. So his physical condition was bad, leprosy and whatnot, but his mental condition was wholesome. So the Buddha in his meditation thought, this person is right. I will just go and give him the Dhamma. So the Buddha went all the way. And then arrived at the village many yojanas away. And he wasn't around. Why wasn't he around? Because he was, after he got better from leprosy and so on, working for someone taking care of people's cattle. So he became a cowherd. And the night before, he noticed, he counted one shot. So he was worried. He said, tomorrow, I heard there will be some teachers coming. But he wanted to attend the teaching, but at the same time, he wanted to find the missing cow. So he thought, which one should I go? So he said, the cow is a responsibility. I must find it for the owner. So what I'll do is, early in the morning, I will go into the forest, look for the missing cow, and take it back, and immediately rush to what we call this, the teaching. So he did that the next morning. He looked around, found it, fortunately, got it back to the herd, and without having any food, straight away, afternoon, arrived at the place where the Buddha had been sitting. Now the Buddha took his meal, one meal a day only in the morning, and after that he didn't give a talk. There were people waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, but the Buddha didn't give any talk. The Buddha told the monk attendant and said, the person whom I came to teach has not arrived. So everyone kept waiting and waiting, hours and hours. So finally, when the Super Buddha arrived, the Buddha saw, he has arrived. Then he told the monk, the person whose sake for whom I have come, for his sake, has joined the congregation. But he is not ready. Why? He had no food since last night. In his state of hunger and exhaustion, he cannot concentrate on the teaching. So he asked the layman, said, any food left from Dharma just now? Yeah. Can you give to that poor man? So they gave the poor man food. And he had the food. And then after that came. And the Buddha taught gradually about all these teachings. And again, he became a Sotapanna. First stage of sainthood. Chakung Udapati, Pachu Kuilea. Jnana Udapati, Bengpek Lailea. Panya Udapati, Ti Uiki Lea. Vija Udapati, Aloko not yet. Vija Udapati. Chakung means the eye of Dhamma. The Dhamma eye is open. Our eyes are always open, but used to watch astro. It's just astronomical. The Dhamma eye is seeing the truth, not seeing things because we like it, but seeing things as they are. This is the use of the Dhamma eye. And the supporting factor is called wisdom. So with wisdom, the eye suddenly open and you can see reality. Oh, anicca, yat aniccam tam dukkam. Whatever is of the reason to arise is also of the matter to dissipate, to disappear. Do we know that, anicca? How many people have not heard of anicca here? But when anicca occurs to our possession, to our new car, to our house that has just been broken into, and all kinds of things, we also have a lot of negative response and reaction to it. Because it is at knowledge level, academic level, that we appreciate anicca, but not at real seeing anicca, realizing anicca. It's not at that spiritual level yet. Therefore, we still respond as if it was a complete surprise. Anicca is not hidden from us. The Buddha had been talking about anicca all along. There's nothing hidden from us. But when it occurs to us, somehow it still came as a big shock and surprise. It shouldn't be shocking or surprise. It should be, oh, Anita, I know that. All along I know that. So having that Dhamma Chakra open is the purpose, to see it spiritually. So that from then on, it's not a knowledge, but it is a realization. So from that, you have the true realization, and you develop panya of the body, the wisdom, and vijja of the body, the wisdom to go towards liberation. And this is the attainment of a sotapan, a person who has entered the stream of Dhamma, destined for enlightenment. Because you have vijja. When you have vijja, you always choose the path to enlightenment and abandon the path to samsara. That is the distinguishing factor. So now he is very, very different. So he went back, and the next morning wanted to come to see the Buddha. Then this is a part of the legend part. The Sakra, the Devaraja, saw this person coming to see the Buddha, walking very differently. So he came down disguised as a rich man and said, "Where are you going? Where are you going?" "I'm going to see my teacher, the Buddha." You in your community? That's your teacher? How can you learn anything? Come, denounce him. Denounce him. Say that he is not your teacher. Say that you're not fit for this teaching. And name me your price. I can give you 1,000. I can give you 5,000. I can give you 10,000. You can be very rich. Then he said, "You think I'm poor? I'm wealthier than anyone. I can well support myself." But he was a beggar, leper beggar. What he means is, I am wealthy because I have the wealth of an Arya. I have Arya Dhanam. I have the true treasure of an Arya. I have 7 treasures. Saddha Dhanam, the treasure of conviction and faith. Siddha Dhanam, the treasure of morality and virtue. Hiri Dhanam, I have the treasure of moral shame. Ottappa Dhanam, I have the treasure of moral fear. And then Sutta Dhanam, I have the treasure of true knowledge of Dhamma. Chaga Dhanam, I have the treasure of liberality of my heart. And I have Panya Dhanam, I have the treasure of wisdom. Who say I'm poor? And I can well support myself means I can well support myself spiritually. I don't need any other person, even if they don't come and teach me further. Based on my attainment of the first stage of sainthood, I'm destined to enlightenment. So therefore, he said, I can well support myself. So Tikong Sakaraja was very impressed. Then he changed into himself and said, "Actually, I'm Tikong." Just now, testing you, but only offer you 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. But now you know who I am, so I can offer you anything within my power. Name it, but denounce the teacher. Just testing you. He said, "I have nothing I want from you. There's nothing you can give me. I have the true treasure already." The Dhamma. Tikong was very impressed. Do like this. Went to see the Buddha and related to the Buddha. This leper walked very slowly, eventually reached the Buddha, told him the same episode. Just now on my way here, Tikong Chak Lok. They find out Tikong Chak Lu. Mata Chak Lu, Tikong Chak Lu, they find. So when you walk on the way back, if Tikong Chak you, you say, "Can I give you anything?" And Tikong will say, "No, I get Dhamma already. There's nothing, I can support myself." That's your declaration, but do not regret. No? So this is how Super Buddha. But not long after that, he passed away. The same day he passed away. So for his sake, the Buddha came, because if he passed away without hearing the Dhamma and attaining this first stage of sainthood, he will again be subject to samsara, and he won't meet the Buddha so easily anymore. Just like us, we don't meet the Buddha today, tomorrow, I don't think next week also. It's not so easy for us this life, but for him it was truly fortunate, right? And why, the monks asked why he had all these mental factors and quality, but he became a leper and so forth. So the Buddha said, no, he wasn't like that. He was actually quite a powerful person in many lives past. But he saw a monk, and that monk happened to be a Pacceka Buddha. And because the monk's, the Pacceka Buddha's skin was a little bit, he cursed the Pacceka Buddha and spat on the ground, cursing and spitting. And he was born because of that heavy karma in hell, and suffered there and reborn again and again. And he had also murdered people in the past lives. So he was several times murdered himself. So, you see, the Buddha said this story. He said, a fool going around his life with very little wisdom or no wisdom at all, does so many things, living like an enemy to himself, although he doesn't have any intention to harm himself, but because of his foolishness, he's harming himself every day. So, doing all kinds of things, when the fruit comes, he tastes it, it's bitter. So therefore, my dear friends, we have to realize and understand the importance of learning true Dhamma. We have to support true Dhamma also. Kamaji mentioned 2 weeks ago, in this place, we have great teachings and teachers that came over the decades. When our late teacher was alive, he did these Friday sermons for more than 5 decades. Tonight we are continuing that legacy. You are part of that merit making. You are part of that history. Many of you, I think, were here for many sessions, many Friday nights when our late teacher was alive. Continue accumulating all this, doing all the meritorious deeds. And whatever that we have accumulated, it can also be shared with our departed relatives, dedicated for their welfare and well-being. This is how we support ourselves and support others karmically, spiritually. To continue our learning, shall we not? And also support facilities, like now the building is coming up. Support the facilities as well. In Nalanda also we have the run for education. Support the building of a school named after our late chief. It's called the Kesari Dhammananda Center. We are going to have that run on the 16th of April. You can also support them. Support facilities and teachers who can give the teaching, so that the true teaching does not disappear. So that the false teachings that are very prevalent today, when you turn on your internet, your YouTube or Facebook, so many teachings that are pseudo-Buddhist, they are not true teachings. They are very prevalent, virulent. Virulent means spread everywhere. Everyone get affected by the wrong news. So to counter that, we have to explain very clearly and establish right views so that the right practice can lead us to liberation. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight, and we also like to dedicate merits to our departed relatives and friends during this Chengbing season, and not forgetting our good teacher, the late Venerable Kesari Dhammananda, in the hall that he built, and all the devotees of this temple, this vihara, past and present, all the benefactors in our lives, past and present. May they share these merits, be free from physical harm and danger. May they share these merits, be free from physical suffering, be free from mental suffering. May they develop the right factors and conditions to understand and realize the Dhamma that lead to liberation. May all beings be well, be happy and peaceful. Sabbe Santa Sukhi Hotu.